Well, even your name to me is so resonant. You know, Eva, well, there's all the significance of that name. It reminds me of echolocation. You know, like by fighting for other people and hearing people's stories and people telling me, it's like this feedback loop where people tell me how my work has helped them, and I find more of myself. And through my art, I unconsciously, I expressed my deepest, not even unconsciously, but I let out everything that I felt and what I was experiencing and struggling with. And when people echoed that back to me, it helped me figure out more of what to own my art.
Yeah,
What
I can relate. Like in the past, playing in bands, like you launch yourself into this creative process, like
mm-hmm.
to fill a void, to find yourself, to experiment and really express yourself. And like when you're playing on stage and you have people singing your song back to you from the crowd, it's like that's such an amazing feeling because you know you've made that connection, and however they interpret your work, that connection still exists. And I think for me, I reached that point and then I just felt something was still missing. And that's when I realized that that missing part was within me, because it's all very well me doing all this creative stuff and putting stuff out there to reach people. If I didn't know who they were reaching, it was kind of pointless. Me, I guess, like one of my defining moments is when we were on tour with a band from Canada called The Birthday Massacre. And I was like, this is a dream come true, you know, a band that I love their work. I really respect them as people. I love what they stand for. I just didn't feel right. And I think for me, I was like, why don't I feel right? Why is there still this gap despite reaching what I think should be, you know, a dream goal? So I then kind of worked backwards and thought, okay, well, who am I? People see me on stage, but who is me? And that's when I thought, okay, well, I can't keep portraying me as something within what I put out there. I need to try and now find me and just put me out there. Don't hide behind a creation.
I think that in the future we're going to see the idea of identity accepted as being absolutely fluid. That it's like it kind of goes hand in hand with the way climate change is affecting us, so that the idea that we expect certain climate and weather conditions to exist, and that is no longer true. I think that there's a way that, and it's interesting that the forefront of people fighting that variable, that existential threat of climate change are also the people who are more aware of how they fit in the world in terms of fighting for marginalized people and being aware of the fluidity of gender and how some things need to be, that all of this needs to be safeguarded. I think it's interesting that there are people who will deny all variability. So climate change doesn't exist. People are not allowed to have their fluidity. You're born male or female. I have had people insist that I must identify as cisgender. I keep reading all of the stuff that I'm this cisgendered, and it's very different identity in how we what we name ourselves, what we call ourselves. It's not for anybody else.
Yeah, totally. Talking about names, I found when after I came out and I'm thinking, okay, I need a name, I found that the most difficult part, because you're born and you're given a name, and you know there's this whole thing of like, do you become the name or does the name become you? And I was like, who am I? I mean, I'm already at that point anyway. But then thinking of a name, do I think of a name that I like the sound of? Do I think of a name because I like the meaning or because of, I don't know, for whatever other reasons. And I guess I was just thinking too much into it. What is a name? And then like there's that line from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, if a rose was, by any other name would still smell as sweet. And I'm thinking that really resonates with me. I am overthinking it too much. And I guess in the end, I kind of took a more simplistic approach. And like the name Eva comes from a friend's band. And just before I came out, they had a lot of equipment stolen from their tour van. So I set up a GoFundMe to help raise money and replace it. And we needed this like final push to hit target. So I said, okay, look, if we hit target, I am going to include a part of their band name as my name. And this was even before I came out. So we hit target. So Eva was added as a middle name. So for me, it was like, well, it's already there. Let's just run with that. It has meaning. That's cool. And then for Echo, it was the band I was playing in at the time. We supported a band that had echoes in their name. And I thought, well, echoes are cool word. And it flows nicely with Eva Echo. And that's also the gig that I met my now wife. So that has a lot of like sentimental meaning. But I think the more I then kind of settled back into just letting it happen, not overthinking and not subscribing to this binary way of thinking, I think that for me was like such a liberating experience, because I then started to think, even at that early age, I define myself based on whether whether a name has meaning or not. It doesn't matter. If simply because I like the sound of it, that's fine. That's really cool. So yeah, that's really eye-opening. I think it's like almost like a rite of passage that you have to go through, whether trans or not, in anything that you kind of find yourself that way.